Bring it on. There we go. Edge Gore. And then Lady Gaga. Alright, you guys ready to go? What's that?
Jason's got. Jason doesn't go get it.
No. First of all, I
There ain't a reason you and me should be alone tonight. Yeah, baby, tonight. Yeah, baby.
Alright. Alright. First, I got the first flag. Therefore, I demand myself to sing the continued time towards the king, and I hear now comes from such act. Second, I realize all the thoughts my mind was mixing. So out was black, and man just has for himself in the ground. Therefore, I will not trade my thoughts for dirty city. I'll have to ask the thing first I can well. Thereby trade my mind for the switch at first. Third, I don't do little positive guess. Any matter that is all out of my with this. I get stronger than every step. I'm a master of every situation. My confidence is shapeful and I'm concerned. I always have to let you talk. I take it from care of my life. I try to stay with the front center. I have past 20. I said third fire sleep. I know what I want to hear. I have time to do it. I practice differently. I have to better. I live off the top. I am positive. I am my money wise because I'm not every day. I get action to the board. I am here sorry today. I enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy that my time to see. I come through. I run safe. I have time to actually do it. I'm affected. I'm fighting to protect. I resist myself. I am moving. Not that it's just my list. I'm all alive. I'm on
days that we get to touch the roof.
I like it.
Like, and Tito Vince.
How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Happy Monday. First Monday of February. Good to see ya. Gratitude, victories. Gotta have something.
I made it here. That's a victory.
Gratitude and victory from Rick over there. That made it here. Okay.
I'm very grateful for family and friends and the support they give you. Sometimes we forget we're working so hard. I think that refuels me is working hard, but then having those moments and you know what you're doing it for. And you know that life, everyone has their struggles, but the family and the support and the laughter, like the Super Bowl weekend, I think I had like 25 people yesterday. And we ran out of pizza and everyone was running to get food. I'm like, how are you guys so hungry? It's Super Bowl, watch TV. And it was great, and everyone in between was talking about work and talking about what they're doing, and everyone works really, really hard. And having those moments, I think, refuels you for what you're actually doing it for.
Yeah.
So that really, it got me going,
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice, yeah.
That's a great share. Thank you.
Grateful for I'm grateful for the culture we have here. The culture of sharing and progressing and growing and pushing and guiding. And this last week, I was just really excited to see everybody that is succeeding on such a high level pop up on my Facebook feed.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those people haven't succeeded at all for years, and to see them, with their dreams, I should say.
Yeah.
And to see them fulfill their dreams and get to those other levels is really fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. Especially when you're watching lots of the agents around here and where the struggles they've gone
Yeah,
through.
from where they've come from to where they are. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
I'm grateful for priorities, because I have to say that I could have stayed up late last night, but I was like, no, I have to get a good night's rest. I went to sleep early and didn't do stuff that I shouldn't do, because I have other goals this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when the goal's strong enough, you put off the things that you like doing sometimes to get your goals, right? That's awesome. That's a great share. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful. Anybody else? Any business happen over the weekend? Any victories for real estate over the weekend? Yeah.
I put a commercial deal under contract on Saturday.
Nice. Good job.
And I saw a few other people working here too. I was like, oh, everyone's making things happen, so it was great.
Yeah, there was some people here on Saturday, so the business happens every day.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah, you just get to choose which day you do want it.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Any other victories over the weekend?
I have a listing that I just put up Friday.
Nice.
My Friday.
Wow.
We need more of those.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was the source from that one?
Previous client,
So keeping in touch with your previous client?
they had it rented out, they were renting it to their daughters, and they decided to put it on the market.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Way to work the previous clients. That's great. Did you have one? Oh, see.
Got a referral on Saturday and got pre-qualified.
All right. Referral on Saturday and qualified on Saturday? Look at who's working on Saturday. You got a lender back there that's working on Saturday, just in case you were wondering.
I did get a listing on a buyer on Saturday.
Did you?
Nice job.
Nice. So this weekend there was business, not just a football game. All right. Yeah,
I was able to do some video tours with some California buyers I have.
Yeah.
And I just FaceTime them, show them the home, and send an offer this weekend. So it's waiting to hear back. So it works.
Nice.
Use your video.
Yeah.
And
Has anyone else FaceTime clients while they're out of town? Works, doesn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
actually got a
comfortable with
listing like that one time. 710,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
We FaceTime.
Yeah. Don't neglect those new techniques.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, with being out of town, most of your clients, if you're going on a vacation and it's not gonna affect them that you're out of town, don't tell them you're going out of town. There's no reason to identify that you're anywhere other than in a place to be able to serve them.
Yeah. As long as there's someone that they can contact if they need.
And it doesn't impress them that you're going to Hawaii, so don't tell them.
No. No. Sometimes it does the opposite.
Right.
Especially when their house is not the one selling.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Saturday when we were working, we had 5 people in the pit, and then I had a call. One guy double-sided it, so, and then another one we put Dylan unconscious. We had 5 go under just on Saturday.
Wow.
Wow, awesome.
Holy cow, nice work, Tyler.
Yeah, good job. Way to push on that one. Good job. This week, what's that? Yeah. So let's go through these real quick. Also, Jennifer, you're new here. Just want to introduce you. This is she just got her just passed on Friday. Welcome. This week we've got some CE on Friday, the unsick house and planning for the unexpected. It's taught by a home inspector, so my guess is it has to do with picking the right houses. So, Superstar Retreat. Oh, we already got one. Lindsay must have went crazy with this one. Now we're already at Superstar Youth Summit. Superstar in July. Start planning now. Start saving your money. Youth Summit in April. That's a great opportunity to bring your kids or people that you know, your SOI, their kids. Be blessed by that. Productivity School. Oh, that one's here. This one's here in Salt Lake. So this is 26th through 29th of March. Opportunity to really hone in some of your skills. C21 Convention, March 19th through the 22nd. That's down in Las Vegas. A great opportunity to celebrate with agents that are succeeding at a high level and kind of interact with the top agents in the country. So, Elmo, you've been to that one. What's your thoughts on that?
That's one of my favorite yearly events, hands down. I mean, the content that Century 21 brings to their agents is staggeringly good, and it's very worth it. And there's a lot of really kind of guerrilla type content that you wouldn't typically get out of a convention that 121 gives you at that convention. They call it 121. That's what
this year Realogy's going to be bringing everybody from out here.
Yeah.
It's not just Century 21 this year.
Yeah, so that would be great.
That'd be really cool.
To be able to see that. Plus, you get to watch Imagine Dragons, and I'm sure there's some really good keynote speakers and tons of classes. So if you're not taking advantage of that, or if you have questions about what does Century 21 actually provide for you as an agent, like a lot of times when we're creating our own business and we're creating our own path, we forget that there's people around us and things around us that actually help us go to the next level. They're not trying to take over your business and run your business, but you could use some of those things to drive your business.
Another thing that's funny, when you go to that Century 21 convention and people find out you're from Everest, you're an instant celebrity. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You get people asking you questions.
Yeah.
All day long, you'll go to lunch and they're like, oh, you're with Everest. Hey, can I talk to you? Hey, can I give you my card? Oh, I just really want,
Yep.
And it's funny because you walk around like the celebrity being from our company. You don't realize how grateful we are to be here, until you go to.
Yeah, when you're number one country in the company. We're a country now. Number one company in the world for I think going on 4 years now. So that's a great opportunity. Take advantage of that. Right before that, Tony Robbins. So you want to make it really cheap. You get a big car full of people, go down to Tony Robbins in LA, then turn around and drive right back through Las Vegas, stopping at the convention. You can make a whole week of fun and growth. So this is coming up this week. Summit, it's on Thursday, so a little different than normal. Normally it's on Tuesday. This one's on Thursday. George is going to speak. And then who was here when Stephen came from Tony Robbins? Okay, he's going to present again here at the Summit. So that's going to be a great opportunity.
I think Blue Tram's speaking at that too.
Is Blue speaking too? And so 3 great people to listen to. And that's Thursday. If you have an RSVP for that, check with Becky at the front desk before. Okay? 12 to 2. They feed you too. They do feed you. They do feed you. Okay? Other than that, I think everything else, there won't be base camp this week because of Summit, but everything else, I think Russ is in town this week to do classes, right?
Yep.
Okay. I
And
don't
don't
know.
forget this Toastmasters
Toastmasters
at
also.
1 on Wednesday.
Got Toastmasters 1 on Wednesday.
And peak agent just isn't for the brand new agent. That is classes that you can attend to brush up on, whether it's systems or otherwise. Highly recommend attending those if you need just a tune-up. So,
yeah. Okay. So today, what I want to talk about is skills. Okay. A lot of time we focus on our mindset, which is so important. 80% of this business is mindset. 10% is skill, 10% is who you talk to. If we neglect the skill portion of it, the mindset will drop. Okay? If you go out and you grind every single day and you keep pushing every single day and nothing happens, you have to work twice as hard to keep your mindset up. So we want to work a little bit on skills today. So number one, when we look at skills, we're going to specifically talk about prospecting and how to increase our success with prospecting. Number one, the first thing you got to do, and a lot of times we forget this, or we don't like this, or we pass over it and be okay with how we do it, but have a script. And not just have a script, but memorize it. Why is memorizing your script important? And I'm not saying a specific script you have to have. I'm saying have a script and have it memorized. Why would we want it memorized?
So you can internalize the content.
Okay, internalize the content.
It becomes natural.
So as to say, sounds natural.
Sounds natural. Okay, I like those. Okay, why else? Why else would we want to have it memorized?
It helps your presentation.
Helps your presentation in what way?
Just presenting it, knowing that you have that skill and you're not rehearsing it or you're practicing it or you're far-fetching it, kind of.
Okay, so it shows more of your
confidence
and
your
abilities
skill
to
set,
your to your clients.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Eddie?
I think sometimes we talk more than we need to, so keep a script.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't have a script, we usually talk a lot more.
So it helps you just dial in and focus on what needs to be spoken.
Yeah, dial in and focus. I like that.
So you can listen, so that you can answer questions that they have, and if they get sidetracked, you can come right back to where you need to be.
Yeah, I like that. That's one that I really want to make sure that we're emphasizing here, is it allows you to listen. Okay? We're going to go into some more skills here that if you're not listening, doing these skills become almost impossible. You might be able to do a couple of them naturally. In fact, I would bet that when we talk about these skills, you'd be like, oh, I do that. Oh, I do that. And then if you ever recorded yourself, you'd realize that if you're not listening, you're not doing that. Okay? So we got to be able to listen. Why is listening in a conversation while we're prospecting so important? Does it really matter what they are actually saying, or does that make sense? Does it matter what they are saying? Like the words that they are saying, does it really matter?
Of course.
Okay? Chris.
It's how they say it. So when you're listening, truly listening, you hear the inflection in their voice, you hear a pause, you hear, as soon as when you're going through the script, if you are present, that's what I say, but it's basically listening, you're going to be able to hear where you need to dive in deeper to find value and present to them.
Right, so have you ever heard someone say, no, I don't want to use an agent, and then they use an agent? Okay, so
I was just going to say, a script is nothing more than conversation content. When you learn a script, you're not really learning a sales pitch, you're learning words that you're going to use to fill the content of your conversation. To direct your conversation. So that's all a script is, and that's why it's important to memorize it so that you have those words, those phrases, the tones, the rates of speech, your pitch, all down into a package to where when somebody is talking to you and you're listening to them, you can respond to them with content that makes sense for the conversation.
Right. Yeah. That's absolutely right. So when I ask, does it really matter what they're saying? The words aren't necessarily the things that we're most important about looking for, right? Okay, because what they say word-wise isn't necessarily what they mean through the process. So if we aren't hearing what they're saying, but we hear the words, what they say, will it take us down a different path than we need to go? Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so when we come back up to this and I say this is the number one thing that we've got to do, we've got to be able to allow ourselves to listen. Because when they say, I don't want to use an agent, or I don't want to pay that much, or I had a bad experience, or whatever they're saying, we want to listen for what they're trying to portray. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we go from there, we want to go into some specific skills. These are the skills that, if we can master these skills, we can direct the conversation to wherever we want to go because we're actually having a conversation with them. So there's two ways to look at this. These skills can be looked at as manipulative. They also can be looked at as persuasive. So what's the difference between manipulation and persuasion?
It's your intention.
Intention? The intention of why you're doing it, right? Okay, so if I use a skill to get what I want, I'm going to be manipulating you, but I could use the exact same skill to get what you want, and it's persuasion. Does that make sense? Okay, so first, what we want to make sure we're doing is repeat and affirm. Okay, so what is repeating?
What is repeating?
Yeah, what is repeating? There is an example of repeating. Okay? Okay? When someone says something really long, are we repeating the whole thing back to them? No. Why?
That would be weird.
That would be weird. That would be weird. It goes back to what we just talked about.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm listening and hearing, kind of the kernel of what it is they're trying to convey.
Right. So if I'm repeating the words, but I'm not conveying what they're saying, or I'm not repeating the words that are important to this conversation, then I'm going to look weird.
So what you're saying is if you're not repeating the words, then you're going to feel or look weird in the process.
There you go. Like that?
I think so.
Okay. Affirm. What is affirm?
It's okay too to change it up a little bit and say things like, so what I hear you saying is that you'd
Oh,
really
you're
like
just
to put
you're
the
going
whole
way
thing
ahead.
on.
We're on level shifting.
There's
And
some advanced stuff going on.
we
back
are. We are going to get there, but yes.
A little bit of a driver to that.
You're like Jason, it's already been 10 minutes, and we're on number 2. Will you just please get on with it? I love it. Okay, affirming. What's affirming?
What's what?
Letting them know that you heard them.
That you heard them.
Empathizing?
Empathizing with them? Close. It's got an element of empathizing, okay? But we don't necessarily, we might not have experienced that, right?
If I were you.
If I were you.
Some people I know have experienced that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. One I like here is what was being said in the back. If I were you. I feel the same way. Okay, can we say that about anything?
Yeah.
Or another phrase for to affirm it would be, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. If I were you, I'd feel the same way too,
I can see where you're coming from.
Getting lighter and lighter.
Okay, just getting lighter and lighter. All right, so why would we say something like this? Let's just go back to this real quick. Okay, we've listened, we know their words, they've said, we know their intention of what they're saying. Why are we saying this? Why are we doing this?
So they know.
So that they know. Okay, so that they know that we heard them and that we're not just, I don't want to use an agent. You don't want to use an agent? If I were you, I'd feel the same way too. I'm gonna feel what they're feeling. Okay? Now let's go into another one. Let's go transitional statements. What's a transitional statement?
With that being said,
Yep. With that being said, why is this important?
This is important because people get sidetracked with the little Johnny on the side. We've got to move over here to Bingham because my son plays football. Last year he got the state championship and
Oh yeah, he's so good. He makes the best touchdowns on every game. He's the most clean running kid, isn't he?
Oh my gosh, and then he's got
Yeah, so with that being said, that's exactly what we're doing. Does this not happen all the time?
All the time.
Okay,
Yes.
does it happen with us too? Yeah. Okay, this happens all the time. So what we want to make sure we're doing is we're helping them through a process. If I don't want to be in a presentation for a really long time, we need to have some transitions, especially if you're working with expressives.
I'm expressive.
Okay, if you work with expressives, you need to make sure you have some way of continuing the conversation. All right? Okay, so transitional statements. Give you a couple more. Based on that, as important as that is, now when you say that, you've got to follow it up with a question. And my suggestion is, if you're using a transitional statement, you're trying to get them from one topic to another, that question probably shouldn't pertain to, so did they win the state championship last year? That probably wouldn't help you. If I said, Alma, with that being said, did they win the last year? You're going to go down the wrong path.
Tell me more.
Tell me more about that. Yeah. Okay, so next skill let's talk about is a rate of speech. Okay, there's a couple specific ones we can talk about. There's the fast talker. What is a fast talker typically viewed like? You got somebody who's speaking really, really fast.
Very energetic.
Driver.
Energetic, driver, okay. Passionate.
Less confidence.
Less confident. Okay, so it's all over the board. You can have somebody who's like, well, they're driver, they're a jerk, they're super fast. You can have somebody who's, if you're scared or you're timid, sometimes we read things fast, we talk really fast, so it can come across as a little bit less confident.
Is this like if we're on the phone or in person? Because there's a different answer if you're on the phone.
Okay, explain that. So talk about your answer on the phone.
On the phone, I'm gonna just be like them. I'm going to just mirror and match whatever their voice is. In person, I'm gonna transition over. And go into my business mode after we have in our room rapport.
Okay, so are you saying that on the phone you're not going to transition to where you want? You're going to stay at that speed?
Well, it depends. If it's a fast talker, then we're going to get to the point.
Okay, so you bring up a great point.
And we don't know each other yet, and so they don't like me yet.
Right, so then you haven't built rapport, right? You don't have a connection.
No.
Okay? If you don't have a connection at the appointment, would you change your rate of speech or would you follow them?
Depends on what part of the presentation I'm in. And,
Okay.
and let me clarify that. I mean, you're looking for the answer.
I'm not looking for a
Mirror and
specific
match.
answer. I'm looking
Mirror
for.
match them. However,
Mhm.
some documentation takes a little bit of time. I mean, some contracts take time. You can't go through them, especially if you're with an analytical and he's driving through it really fast. You still have to give him details.
Yeah, and this really doesn't have anything to do with the details of the process or even going through your whole presentation. We're looking at trying to connect with them.
Yeah, if I'm on the phone, I just want to get to their house.
Yeah, if you want to. But the
whatever it
reality is unless you have some kind of a connection, will they let you come to your house?
No.
No, right? Okay, so if we have to use this as a technique to get into the house, we've got to match them until when?
Till we get the appointment.
Until we have a connection.
Oh, connection.
Okay, when we have a connection with them, we cannot lead people until we have a connection with people. We use rate of speech. We got fast and slow.
Wait, but how do we know if we're connected?
I was just gonna ask that. I want to hear you guys. How do you feel comfortable?
You feel it. Okay.
Feel it.
So you feel it. How would you know if you're connected? Now, how do you know when you're connected with somebody?
I know that I am comfortable and I know that they are comfortable and connected with me when I am comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the subconscious dialogue that happens on the phone. When you feel comfortable, they also feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's something that happens at the same time. It's not something like, oh, I'm comfortable when they're uncomfortable. You'll be comfortable when they're comfortable on the phone.
Right. And so what if you jumped the gun, you thought you were comfortable and you asked a closing question, but they weren't comfortable? What happens?
Ask more questions.
Okay, they're not going to say yes, right?
Right.
They're going to say no, they're going to have some reservations with it. Then we got to recircle back and ask more questions. We might have to revisit some of these things where we might not have a connection with them yet, but we have to circle back so that we have that connection. As soon as you have the connection, then you're right. Let's just go for the appointment.
Yeah.
Because we have a connection. Connection feels comfortable, allows you to lead. In this process, we're just wanting them to follow our lead. If we are doing some of these things, so we look at these when we talk about the specifics. What does a fast person sound like? What does a slow person sound like? What we're trying to do is connect with them. We're all searching, our minds are searching for things that we're comfortable with. It's just natural that we do that. Now we can force ourselves to get uncomfortable, and that's what we try to do in a sales position, is the more uncomfortable I get, the more success I can have. I can break out of this comfort zone, whatever you want, however you want to interpret it. When we're looking at this specifically, we're looking at trying to connect with them. Actually, all of these is trying to connect with them, which is why we started here, without being able to listen to them, how you connect with them. Because have you ever been talking to somebody and they are just saying things that are just, you don't even agree with, and then they ask you to do something? Even if it's as simple as, like, will you go shut the door for me? You're like, it's like this internal, I don't want to do that because you don't understand me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this a helpful dialogue?
Yeah.
For what we're doing? Okay. Anybody other than Rick? Is it helpful?
Yes.
Rick always thinks it's helpful.
So I just want to say
Yes.
one thing I used to grade where my connection is with people is if I know if I ask them questions, they'll give me either a truthful answer or they will respond to my questions. That's when I know that I have my connection. If they aren't, if they're trying to get me off or whatever it is, I know I need to go back to getting a connection with them.
Yeah, so once you feel that, you know that you've got to go back and do some techniques to get back into that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so when I know
I
that
was gonna say, how do you know if they're truthful?
He's got a lie
well,
detector.
you can
He's
tell
like,
when people are answering questions, if they're like, yeah, you know, and just saying whatever.
They're
But
engaged.
but yeah, and then I don't move on to that, to questions, and that's the next part of the process. And so I feel that connection, like Rick said, feeling. But when I feel that, then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to ask questions.
Yeah, and a lot of sales is internal feeling. Okay, we forget that because we don't get the chance to practice that. The more times you practice it, and the more times you're like, okay, this is where I'm connected with them. And then you ask a closing question, and it closes, and you're like, okay, I was connected with them. The next time you feel that same way, and you close, and it doesn't work, you're like, okay, why was I not connected with them? This is how getting our skills to the next level happens. Because we can easily be like, yeah, I know my script and I say what I want to say and sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. There's no reason for us not to have a great conversation with everybody we talk to on the phone, whether they're upset or they're super happy, they're expressive, they're a driver. It doesn't really matter as long as we understand this and we start to get to the point where Chris was talking about where I kind of can feel that they're lying to me.
Yeah.
I can kind of feel that I'm not connected.
I wanted to just say it kind of goes the other way around as well. Is when you're repeating and affirming for them, they actually start doing that to you, and you're on a different level. So you have an understanding with each other. That's how you kind of know that you are connecting when they're starting to agree with you.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the other way around. When you're connecting with them and you know that you can start to close, is when they're understanding everything you're saying as well. And they repeat it like, oh, okay, well, I understand this. Okay, I get your point. So let's then I feel like you can close. It's like all about the connection, right?
Yeah.
Like Chris is saying, it's when you automatically know when they are agreeing with you.
Yeah, you have that feeling
Yeah.
that they're doing that.
You know, a great example for me in this process is when I started my business years ago. I met with John Rhodes when we were realty executives 13 years ago. And I had already picked a brokerage out. And I was already going over there. I had friends over there. I had affiliates. I had I had business opportunities that are already springing up over there. And I sat down with John Rhodes, and that guy asked me more freaking questions about myself and about my dreams and about my goals. And I knew that I was going nowhere else. I mean, I signed up right there and then. And I don't even remember him freaking closing me. And that's what was so good about it, was that he cared so much about my direction. I thought, you know what? I will burn everything I already have over there to have what he's offering me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your clients are going to feel the same way when you listen to them and you can feel what they're feeling. This allows us to connect with them, not to manipulate them, but to figure out what they're wanting so that we can be that solution.
Yeah.
And just another tip, take an insane amount of notes when you're talking to people. So if they end up being a follow-up call, you can follow up and bring things from your previous conversation back in. Even if there was somebody screaming in the background, or just said, I've got to hurry, I've got a class to go to, or whatever. Then when you come back, you're not a stranger.
Yeah.
You're somebody who knows a little bit about their life already.
Yeah, you're giving yourself, a level up to help them the next time, because you're connecting with them. You're already bringing that to it. You're fast forwarding. I love it.
The first time around.
Yeah, and you can go to that connection very easily. We all have that with certain people in our lives. You get it with George in the organization. Okay, when George comes in, people automatically oh, let me listen to this, because he's created that already. We already know that we want to be led by somebody who does stuff like that. Now, you might have other people in your life that you just instantly connect with them, and you're like, yep, whatever you say, I'm going to do. When you take some of these skills, and we only really talked about 3 skills, there's about 6 of them that we want to go through. We're not going to go through all today, but just look at these. What I want you to come away from today's discussion is that if we're intentional with what we're trying to learn, our skill level is going to go up. If we just go through these motions, because how many people have said, yeah, I repeat and affirm? Does everybody repeat and affirm on the phone? We try to, right? Okay. Most likely, we're doing less than we actually think we are doing. Okay? Transitional statements. We've been in presentations that are 20, 30, 40, 2 hours long, whatever it is. Did we use these in the right time? And rate of speech. Those are 3 things. So what I'm hoping is, today's being Monday, take one of these skills and really look for it in your conversation this week. When you're prospecting, really look and see, okay, am I repeating and affirming? Record yourself and then ask yourself, am I really repeating and affirming? Am I getting the effect that I want from this? And that's how you're going to get your skills up. It's going to be better. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any other thoughts?
My last thought is, when you get to that close, make sure you don't close just once. I mean, very seldom do I ever set an appointment that I closed once on in that conversation.
Yeah.
If I don't feel like they're ready to close, I ask more questions. Like George teaches, question, close. If they're not ready to close yet, or they say no. Question, close. They're not ready to close yet. You ask more questions. Question, close. And these questions, and people are always like, well, what questions do I ask them? Anything about the home. You said there's tile in the kitchen. What kind of tile is it? Oh, you put in new flooring. What kind of flooring? Oh, you did. That's great. And then you put in new windows. What kind of windows were they? Where did you get them? How long did that take? Oh, you did. Oh, did you do that yourself, or did you have them professionally installed? I mean, you think about all the things you can ask about a house. How old is the roof? What does the yard look like condition-wise? Does it have a sprinkler system?
So why are you asking all those questions?
To build rapport. To
build rapport and to connect with them, right? Okay?
Right. Yeah, sometimes you can close them right away.
So here's what I want you to make sure you understand. They will not say yes at this close until there's some kind of rapport and connection with you. Okay? Unless unless you're talking to an amiable that says yes to get you off the phone, and then I can guarantee you they're going to cancel it before you even show up. But if you get a no here, then what Alan was saying is exactly right. You're going to ask more questions, minimum of 3 more questions. Don't go ask 1 question and go back into a close. Ask 3 more questions. Close, no, 3 more questions, close. You just keep going back through this cycle over and over. The whole idea is, do we have connection, 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 no, connection, 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 yes, appointment.
Yeah. And people sometimes think that rapport is built based on what you have in common with somebody.
Yeah.
That is not true.
No.
You can build rapport off of anything, but rapport is built by asking questions.
We go back to the questions, and I'm just going to push back a little bit there. You don't want to ask specific questions all the time, because I think you guys have been where you kind of dead end and you don't know where to go from there. Go back to the general questions, and looking from big picture side, the whole reason you go back to the questions is you have not found the value that's going to make them sign. Right. That's going to make them decide on you. And that's why you go back to it's a beautiful process, really, but yeah, you just have not told them what they need. They do not feel that you can give them the solution that they want, and that's why those questions can help us even get them out of their own way to find out what that need is, and then they'll go with you. So
yeah, it's a whole process. So don't neglect your skills in this area. Yes, I would for sure start with number 1, and a lot of us want to skip number 1 and go into 2 and 3 and all of these other skills, because it's like, okay, this is the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. The reality is, unless you can hear them, you cannot do all of this. Okay? All right, let's make it a good week and get some appointments.
Alright, close your station. I see you down in the road. I'm an optimist. I like talking to people. I know what's important to you. I remember people's names. I did it that I thought. I'm asking about real estate. I know this is my great school. I like asking questions. Listen, I enjoy reading through my justice. I thought through my emotions back. Hold on. I'm focused on my education. My presentation. How crazy. I do my still taking. I'm happy. I love the prospect of keep my vision. I see my future is awesome. I love my life. I'm grateful and thankful. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I go out there. I think my things on. I get things done. I provide some customer service. I do quality days. I connect with you. People love me. I'm love. I do this one down for my biggest yes. I prospect daily. I set one mistake. I'm a master slayer. I achieve my goal. I'm a real estate rock star. I'm passionate all my life. I live every day perfect. I'm confident in myself. I know my destiny. I'm healthy, strong. I'm powerful. I'm unstoppable. I keep fighting, fighting, yes. Woo! Morning.
You